Welcome to There's a Method to the Madness. My name is Rob Maxwell. I'm an exercise physiologist and personal trainer. I'm the owner of Maxwell's fitness programs, and I've been in business since 1994. The purpose of this podcast is to get to the real deal of what really works, and most importantly, why things work. Hence the name, There is a Method to the Madness. Today I'm going to talk about Jerry Johnson, who has recently passed, as I spoke about on our last podcast. He and Gina Millard are just great legends in our mind. They passed this month, and I want to do a tribute to Jerry today. Before I get to that, let me thank Jonathan and Lynn Gilden of the Gilden Group at Realty Pros. They are committed to providing the highest level of customer service in home sales, and they have the reviews to back that up. Give them a shout at 386-451-2412. Call them, find out what your house is actually worth. All right. So Jerry passed earlier this month, which is October, and he had been training with me since 1999. We looked it up in his chart and saw that it was October of 1999. That is crazy for me to think about, working out with me 3 days a week for 25 years. And similar with Gina Millard and Gordon Millard, he started training with me. I'd say that Jerry trained with me personally longer than the Millards did. Jerry would come early in the morning, and typically I trained most of the people early in the morning, and I was working with him, and then he had worked with some other trainers. He did work with Ellen for a significant amount of time, and they had a great rapport and a great relationship. But, I can't tell you the amount of mornings that I would come in, and Jerry was my first client. This is back in the fly-in, and then when I moved to the location where I'm at now on Airport Road, same thing. But, I'd get there and I would turn the lights on. I would, at the time, this was years ago, put it on 105.9. That was the radio station that seemed to gel with a lot of our clients, but especially with him because he liked the oldies. And now or later on, more modern time now, we have a streaming station. We would put on 60s rock when he was going to come in. And no, we didn't cater to everybody who wanted a certain radio station. Of course not. But, I don't know. To say Jerry was special is going to imply something the wrong way as far as radio stations goes. But it's not that so much as he just enjoyed it so much. And you talk about a low maintenance client. I mean, here is a guy that, he's been a developer in our area for years and years and years. He's done very well for himself. He's done so many great things, but man, also one of the most low maintenance clients I could ever imagine. So he would come in, we'd have his radio station ready to rock and roll, and like clockwork, he would pull up. I think it was 6:30 a.m. was his workout time, if I remember right, for many years. And then later on, more recently, he came at 10 o'clock. But, he'd roll in the parking lot just a couple minutes before he was due to come in. He would come in on time. He'd get on the bike, his recumbent bike. We had two different ones in his time, which that's pretty good for longevity of bikes, by the way. And he would do his warm-up, and then we would start his weights like clockwork. I mean, you talk about a guy that never complained. And I spoke about that with Gina and Gordon Millard as well. And it's not like he didn't have some things to complain about. Everybody has different things, that happen. One, and I'm kind of I'm just, speaking off the cuff here as we go, talking about Jerry and trying to add to the listeners, maybe things they can learn. We can all learn from him. Like Gina, there was those Jerry wisdoms as well that, help us get through things or be better versions of ourselves. But, I'll probably always remember a phone call I got. Like, it was actually, I called him, I believe. It was a little bit past his workout time, and he never missed a workout. I mean, he loved to work out. He never missed. He is never late. You know, like I said, low maintenance, on time Jerry. And so I called. It was maybe 5 minutes past his workout time, so maybe like 6:35. And he picks up the phone, and he sounded a little, hoarse or whatever. And I said, "Hey, Jerry, this is Rob. You know what's going on?" And he just says into the phone, he says, "Cappy, I'm so sorry I got a miss. I just found out my son was just killed." I mean, his son was killed in an automobile accident on 95 and I-4, that area. And, I could not even imagine that personally. And, the phone almost drops out of my hand, I'm like, oh my God, and just thinking about how not only did he let the phone go to voicemail, he didn't do that. Not only did he not do that, he picks it up and then just states that he, obviously wasn't coming in. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I couldn't imagine, like, just the toughness with him, and then shortly after that, probably my guess would be the next workout time. He came Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6:30 a.m., whatever day that was. He was probably most likely back. Shortly after that, he built a softball, baseball field in his development of Venetian Bay that he was working on, and he named it after his son. And, he did so many things behind the scenes that most people don't know about, but, I was just blown away at his toughness for actually handling that situation. And, I could imagine most people would just let it go to voicemail and not even communicate back with anybody regarding any of their appointments for a period of time. But that just wasn't Jerry's way. I mean, it just wasn't his way. And he first started coming to me. He was referred to me by a guy who actually worked for Mark Martin. And so he comes in, and I remember he comes into the gym because he called and said he was going to come by and talk to me about training. And when he first came in, he says that his doctor told him that he needed a knee replacement, and he didn't really want to do that, and asked my thoughts on that. And I said, well, okay, you got to do what you got to do, but we can absolutely try strengthening your lower body to see if that helps, prior to surgery, or you can make up your mind on surgery. And, Jerry was used to working out. He worked out different places, and he played Clemson football. He was a football player at Clemson, so he worked out, big, strong guy. And he says, yeah, I want to try that. So, our first thing we did was we just worked on general strengthening to strengthen up his legs to see if he actually needed the knee replacement. And, let me cut to the end of the story here real quick, and then I'll go back. But let me just say that when Jerry passed, and this is 25 years later, he had never had that knee replacement. So he decided a short period of time after working out that his knees were just getting better. He was very cautious about doing anything to his body that he didn't absolutely have to do. His joke was, and no offense to any of my physician clients and listeners out there, but his joke was, doctors are just going to tell you something bad or give you something bad. That's what he would say. So it's like, oh, okay. So, he didn't really want to do anything extensive like that, and he never ended up needing to. Does that mean that his knee pain went away? No. It meant that it got better. It got better to the point where he could do what he wanted to do, which was continue to work out, continue to play golf, continue to enjoy the things that he liked to do, continue to ride his recumbent bicycle that he got at home, because after he liked the one I had at the gym, he asked me for my recommendations, because he always asked. He knew a lot of things, but he always asked. He wasn't one of those types of clients that didn't take advice outside of working out, on their own, which some do, and I don't get that. He would say, hey, Cappy, what do you think? So should I do some bike riding on my days that don't work out with you? And I'd say, yeah, you should. And he said, well, can you get me the number of this kind of bike? Because I like it, and I said, absolutely. So, he called and he'd get a bike delivered and he would use it. We'd ask him, so did you bike yesterday? Yes, I did 20 minutes, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. So that was just his way, but his discomfort never went away. I was talking to Ellen yesterday about how Jerry would come in and one of his knees would look like the size of 2 knees. It would just be all swollen, and he'd go, knee's bugging me a little today, but nothing we can't work through. That was his attitude. And us being professional trainers, we'd say, well, Jerry, you got to tell us if something hurts too much. I'll let you know. It's fine. I'll do that. And he would try to get on the bike, and some mornings he would. Actually, every time he'd come in with the knee, he was able to bike. He would just go a little slower. It would be more of an awkward turning of the pedals, but he would do it, and he would say it's actually feeling better. And then obviously, as being professional, responsible trainers that we are, we would change his workout around a little bit because it wasn't just his knee. I'd seen his elbow swell up to the size of 2 sizes before. He had different things removed on his body before. He had some feet issues. He had all different things over the course of 25 years, being a man that started when he was in his 60s with me. He was going to have some issues come up. The point is, they never stopped him. They never slowed him down. Maybe they slowed him down a little, but he never quit pushing through. And no, for all you overly sensitive people out there, I'm not saying that no pain, no gain is the way, but there is a happy medium. If we feel pain and stuff, of course we need to alter our workout some. If, we feel pain, injury, we need to alter our running, our biking, our swimming, whatever we do. But we can't be so quick to just quit on things. Can't be so quick to take so much time off. It's just, for me to sit here and say it's just not going to work, that sounds opinionated. So I will just say this, it didn't work for Jerry. What worked for Jerry was continue to push through, because he lived a very full life into his 80s and fighting up until the end. And let me tell you something. He was working out just 5 weeks ago. And we knew he had a serious health issue going on because he told us. And he was pushing through that scenario, what he was battling. He was pushing through. And, one day he came in and, I took a picture of his last workout here, and he was actually having a good day that day. He was smiling. He was doing his typical Jerry, which is bantering a little bit about football and about baseball and things like that. And, I took a picture of him because, I was having a good day, but he was having a good day. And I just thought, I don't know that I'm going to see too much of him, and even though he was having a good day. And, sure enough, he got hospitalized a couple days after that, and then pretty much never came out. But he was working out all the way up until the end, because he did not look at working out like a punishment. He saw it like I see it, a reward, something great. He was never like, oh man, I get to take a workout off today because I don't feel well. No, that's not how he looked at it. He looked at it like, if I have to take the workout off, it's going to suck, because working out puts me in a better mood. Working out is good for me. Working out helps me do the things that I want to do. And that was Jerry, kind of like Gina, as I spoke about in the last podcast. It's like, what would Jerry do? He took his health situations serious. The difference is than most people, I would say, not to sound judgmental, but he also made sure that he continued to do everything that he knew he needed to do to become better. If he thought of food that he should eat, he would ask. He always wanted to know if he should be taking vitamins and what kind. He definitely followed through on any advice you ever gave him, which is pretty rare. A lot of people ask you questions, and then if you give them an answer that you can tell by looking at them they don't like, they kind of yes you and then they don't do it. That wasn't Jerry. It was no bullshit. It was no waste of anybody's time. It was like, if he had a question, he would ask you. And if he asked you for the advice, he would take it. And this is a man who's definitely an alpha, who was in charge of everything that he did. But when he came to the gym, he knew it was time to move over to the passenger seat. And he did.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to unlock your full potential? I want to introduce you to the Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast, a powerful resource to transform your life today. With expert interviews, practical tips, and inspiring stories, this podcast is your roadmap to lasting wellness. Here's what a listener has to say.
I used to struggle with my health, but this podcast changed everything. It's like having a personal trainer, nutritionist, and life coach totally for free.
With over 2,000 five-star reviews, we're a podcast you can trust. The Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast, available now wherever you get your podcasts.
And he worked absolutely hard. Jerry loved to bench press. As a trainer, I'm not saying the bench press is the greatest exercise in the world. It's not. But because of his football and Clemson days, he loved to bench. And, we know as trainers, I was speaking with a client about this yesterday, about how all the exercise physiology in the world, which I have a ton of, probably takes a backseat to my psychology degree, because we can know so much. I can tell you anything you want to know about kinesiology and all that very important stuff. Like, I love joint actions. I love physics. I love those things. I love talking about like what movements and what angles engages what muscle groups and what exercises best replicate that. I mean, that's like right up my alley. I enjoy all that. But you know what? None of that matters anything if the person hates particular forms of exercise. Jerry didn't hate anything in the gym, but he loved to bench press. It brought him back to his old college football days. So I can't tell you how many times that I'm spotting him on the Smith machine, because we use the Smith. We like that. It's a little bit safer. And I'm telling you, he was benching close to 300 pounds like 15 years ago, and maybe over 300. And I can't tell you, I can remember in the flying days when he was a little bit younger, and I'm spotting him. And I'm almost like having like a hypotension moment, because like he gets stuck and I'm pushing up on the bar and we get it racked, and I'm like, holy shit, that's heavy. Like, it took all I had to spot him. And this is in his like late 60s at the time. Like, this man was strong. And I'm not saying everybody has to train for maximal strength. No. But what I'm saying is knowing my psychology background, if it keeps somebody happy and they're safe and they're doing the things that they love to do and they're not hurting themselves. And he never had shoulder issues or anything like that when we benched. If he ever had issues, sometimes it was his ankle, sometimes it was his elbow, sometimes it was his knee. But like, never on the bench did he ever complain of anything hurting him. It kept him motivated. He liked it. It made him feel young. We had the Jerry circuit, which I don't know, and he liked it. He wasn't this person that needed all this, change and variety because he felt bored. It was like, that wasn't his way, It was like, I don't care. Is this good for me? Does it work? But we kept the Jerry circuit going for so many years. And even up to the end, his last workout, we bench press. Now, he had a fraction of the weight on the bar, and we're doing higher reps than he used to do, of course, but a fraction of the weight, but he still did it. He was still benching. Oh man, I wish I had taken a picture of him under the bar on the Smith machine. So that's what he wanted to do. And again, psychology is so underrated when it comes to working out. Good trainers figure out what's going to keep somebody motivated. Sometimes people need to be redirected. Absolutely. Sometimes they need the carrot versus the stick. Absolutely. Jerry was a person that never needed the stick. If you know the story of the stick and the carrot, he never needed the stick. He was hard on himself. If anything, he would need the carrot of telling him to back off a little bit, take a day off, rest, don't be so hard on himself. We would absolutely have to trick him at times, which, yes, we do, people. We do what's in your best interest all of the time. And, if he'd ask something on the bar, it was like, hey, that's on there, Jared, that's on there, that's on. And it would be like 10 or 20 or 50 less pounds because we just didn't want him to get hurt. So he needed the carrot. He didn't need the stick. He was going to push himself way harder than any of us could ever push him. So, again, that goes to toughness. Good trainer and good client, that's a good relationship, because a good trainer is assertive enough to keep him protected from himself. And we know when we need to embellish how much weight is on the bar. And thank goodness he never took the time to actually count it up sometimes, because he might be like, hey, you shorted me 50 pounds. It's like, yes. And, sometimes that was good for Ellen or some of the other trainers that, they're women and just weren't as strong enough to handle some of those loads. But it all worked out. Another thing I can think of with Jerry was, his little sayings. He would always say, inch by inch, anything's a cinch, and it's true. He understood that if we did 2.5 more pounds on a weight on a Wednesday, in a week or so, if we add 2.5 more pounds, he's going to be stronger. He understood that. He understood overload. He was good about keeping everything in perspective. Like, he knew that as long as we're moving forward, we're moving forward. And I would say something like, well, Jared, that's up 5 pounds. That's good. He'd go, inch by inch, Cappy, inch by inch, anything's a cinch. That was one of his that he always said. That's absolutely true. And if we got talking about my profession a little, like fitness, wellness, health, all that stuff, and, talk about weight loss, which was never one of his big goals. He just wanted to be stronger. So, he would say to me, he'd say, well, Cappy, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die, talking about the weight loss thing. Because I'd explain, it's like, well, I lead them to water and they don't drink. We try to tell them, you're going to have to give up that bottle of wine every night if you're going to lose weight. You're going to have to not get those frappuccinos and all these fancy drinks if you want to lose weight. And, most people, sorry listeners, but most people yes you to death and say they completely understand. And then they keep drinking their wine. They keep buying their frappuccinos. They keep eating they keep binging on foods that they know isn't going to be good for them to lose weight. And Jerry is absolutely right. Everybody wants to get to the promised land, but nobody wants to die to get there. So he got it. He understood all these things, and he always had the great sayings, and that's one, Another one he would always say is he'd say, he always wanted to kind of stay under the radar. He'd say, the higher you climb, the closer you get to either falling or showing your ass. I always love that one too. It's like, man, that is so true. And he would talk about that with politicians and famous people. It's like, think about it. That is absolutely so true. People that are craving all the attention, the higher they climb, the more likely they're going to fall or show their ass. That doesn't have a lot to do with fitness, but, that's just Jerry wisdoms. And the thing with me and my career that I can say is that, the beauty of it is through all these years I've been doing this since 94, known him from 99, knowing Miss Millard, Gordon Millard from 99, is that we, the trainers, are so blessed and lucky, fortunate to be able to get the wisdoms of these people. Like anybody that trains with you a long time, or anybody that's older than you, more experienced than you, we get as much, if not more, out of their presence than they get from us. So it's such a win-win. So all of these things, and I'd be remiss if I didn't include Reed Hughes in this, who passed about 4 years ago. He was another legend that said so many great things to me, and he is on our wall here as well. But it's just, I wanted to cover Gina and Jerry because they passed this month. So, that's what I can say. And, it's said, in many good books, including, I believe, the good book, you fight the good fight. And, I can absolutely say that Jerry fought the good fight all the way up to the end. I mean, you talk about teaching everybody grace, regardless, of your belief systems or not. It doesn't matter, because Jerry never really talked about his belief systems that way, but he embodied it. And that's the most important part. So, we want to say that we love you, Jerry, and appreciate everything that you've done for us. We know you're up there bench pressing in heaven. You are showing them how it's done. There's no question about it. And right behind you is Gina and Gordon doing their dumbbell exercises. So now let me thank Overhead Door of Daytona Beach, the premier garage door company of Daytona. Jeff and Zach Hawk are consummate professionals and will give you absolutely what you need. Give them a shout at overheaddordaytona.com.